I'd like to welcome you to our installation video from GlockTriggers.com. We're going to be installing the Edge competition trigger for Glocks and a Glock 17 today. The first thing I'd like to talk about is safety. It's the biggest consideration while doing this. And a footnote, make sure this is done by a gunsmith or a competent person familiar with Glock pistols. The first thing and foremost is the fact that this gun needs to be unloaded before we work on it. So we remove the magazine and make sure that there is no ammunition or rounds in it. We'll check the chamber and make sure that it's free and clear of ammunition, and the mag well as well. So we are sure that we have a safe gun. All ammo should be stored in a completely separate location, preferably a separate room. We also are going to be using safety glasses today. This is a big consideration because there are springs and things that might pop out of the gun and hit us in the eye, and we don't want any accidents. So safety glasses, and let's go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to field strip this Glock 17. I'm going to release the slide. One of the first things that we have to do when we field strip a Glock is to disengage or depress the trigger. So we'll pull the trigger, we'll grab the gun like this, and we'll pull the slide back slightly and depress on both sides, equal pressure, the slide lock lever. And when we do that, we'll release the slide. Then we can just easily pull it forward and take it off. I'm going to go ahead and remove the recoil spring in the barrel. And we have our slide and our frame. Put the slide aside for now. We're going to work on the frame. We're going to take our trigger group out. To get that out, we only need to remove 3 pins. That's the locking block pin, the trigger pin, and the trigger housing pin. We also need to remove the slide stop lever and the locking block. So we'll first start with the locking block pin. Just depress it, and we can pull that right out, set it aside. Next, we'll do our trigger housing pin. Just push all the way through with that. Pin comes right out. Next, we're going to press the trigger pin, and while we do that, we're going to grab our slide stop lever and slightly move it until we hear a click, and that will remove the trigger pin. We can next remove the slide stop lever, and then I like to pry underneath the locking block against the frame from this angle. It doesn't take very much pressure, just pop that out like that. And now we're ready to remove the complete trigger group. Just take your index finger underneath the ejector, pull straight up like that. We have removed the trigger group. Now we're ready to install our new Edge trigger group, and I wanted to show you first, before I put that in, what the hex tool is for. This is to adjust the over travel or the reset. There's a set screw that has been placed into the trigger housing at the rear here, and that takes up a little space in that channel to adjust the over travel or reset. We're now going to take the new trigger group, we're going to place it down in the frame just like that, pops right in. Now we have to replace the locking block, put that back in. We're going to go and replace from now the opposite direction, from right to left. We're going to replace the locking block pin. Then we're going to replace the trigger housing pin from the back side as well. Then we're going to the slide stop lever in the first slot in the frame. Just drop that right in and let it sit in place. While we put the pin in from the opposite side, we want to move this around slightly until the pin pops right in place. Now we'll seat these pins so they're centered. And now we've installed our trigger group in our frame. So let's move on now to the slide. We're going to be replacing the firing pin spring, the firing pin safety plunger and spring as well. I've also included a couple of spring cups. These have a tendency to want to fly out on their own. So in case you lose one during the process, we have some extras for you here. So let's take the slide in our left hand. We're going to disassemble this, we're going to have to underneath the firing pin lug, there's a spacer sleeve. We'll set the slide down, muzzle in first on the table, depress that, and then with our thumb, take the back plate and slide it backwards until, and keep our thumb covering the rear of that until we feel both the EDP and the spacer sleeve hit our thumb. Now the tension's been taken off, we can remove the firing pin, the EDP. Now all we have to do to remove the extractor is to press down a plunger, safety plunger, like that, and turn it over to remove the safety plunger as well. So put these parts aside. The first thing we're going to work on is the firing pin spring. So we're going to use our slide as a base, and we're going to pop our sleeve in there so the lug is turned to the left or the right, whatever is more comfortable for you, so we can get a good grip on the spring. So we'll hold the spring down, and while we're doing that, we can remove the spring cups. Fortunately, we salvaged both of those. Okay, now we're going to replace our factory spring with our new reduced power firing pin spring. So we're going to take that, pull it down, get a good grip on it. Then we're going to replace the spring cups 1/2 at a time. Slide these little guys into place. We want to make sure that we don't have any overlaps on the spring cups. And now we have our new spring installed. The next thing that we want to do is replace the firing pin safety plunger that comes with your kit and this reduced power spring. We'll just let that drop here into the hole that it goes in and press that down. While we're pressing that down, we take our extractor and press it in, let up on that. It will hold the plunger in place. While we hold the extractor in place, we're going to reinstall the EDP metal first. Just drop that in, firing pin, drop that into the sleeve. Now we have to replace the back plate. I like to take the spacer sleeve and just depress it with my thumb and get a good start on the back plate. And once you've done that, then you can move the EDP out of the way with your disassembly tool by pressing it down and click back in place. So now we've installed all the parts for our competition trigger kit, and we just need to reassemble our Glock 17. So we're going to go ahead and drop our barrel in, take our recoil spring, replace that, and now put the slide back on the frame. And there you have Glock 17 with a brand new Edge competition trigger kit for Glocks from GlockTriggers.com.